Hello and welcome to this edition of Whether You Want to Know or Not. My name is Jeff Orrock and I'm the meteorologist in charge here at the National Weather Service office in Wakefield, Virginia. Today I'm going to be talking about everything you want to know about measuring snow. So after the snow falls and things have ended and it's time to go out and play in the winter wonderland, think about grabbing that ruler and taking it outside with you and taking some key measurements of snowfall depth in several locations. You can then report that snowfall amount directly back to the National Weather Service. Now, hopefully before the snowstorm hit, you were able to set up an area or think about where you would measure snowfall once the event is over. You can set up a snowboard as seen here in the upper right hand corner where it's just a piece of wood or a board painted white. And as snowfall accumulates onto it, you can go out there and measure the snow depth on the snowboard. You can also look for key locations around the yard away from the house and trees to take your snowfall measurements. And we'll talk about more how to do that. You also want to make sure you take your measurements to the nearest 1/10 of an inch. Here's our friends from CoCoRaHS to share some more information about how to accurately measure snowfall.
Use good judgment. Not only does it matter what and how snow is measured, but it also depends upon the finest details of when and where. The difference of an hour or a distance of a few feet may be as great as taking the measurement in an entire different county. Snowfall is the measurement of new accumulation of snow, ice pellets, and hail, but not freezing rain since the previous day. Place the measuring stick straight down in the center of the snowboard. Measure to the nearest 1/10 of an inch. Double check your measurement by sampling several places and averaging the totals. After completing the measurement, completely clear the fresh snow and ice from the snowboard and place it back on top of the snow. If you don't have a snowboard, measure on a representative level surface. Remember, snowfall on a grassy surface can actually be supported in the air by the grass, giving unrealistic measurements. Another factor that makes the measurement of snow difficult is the fact that snow melts and settles. Therefore, measuring snow can be like shooting at a moving target. When dealing with melting snow, measure often enough to note the greatest accumulation prior to melting and settling. The effects of strong winds are obvious and visible, but subtle processes like melting and settling also pose a challenge to weather observers. Depending on temperature, sunshine, wind, and the type of snow, there will usually be a certain amount of settling or melting. When measuring snowfall, the goal is to report the maximum accumulation of fresh snow before it melts or settles. When it's cloudy and temperatures are well below freezing, there may be no melting or settling. But often the snow depth decreases quickly as the storm diminishes or changes to rain. Let's illustrate how to report during these conditions. Assume your normal observation time is 7 a.m. A storm moves in shortly after your morning observation, and snow accumulates steadily from 8 a.m. until the storm suddenly ends at 2 p.m. Then the sun comes out, the temperature warms, and the snow both settles and melts, so that by the next morning there are only 3 inches left on the ground and snowboard. What should you report for your daily snowfall and your depth of snow on the ground readings when you measure at 7 a.m. the next morning? At your observation time, the snow depth is clearly 3 inches. So that is what you must report for snow on ground at observation. But you should report 6 inches for your 24-hour snowfall amount, since that was the accumulation before melting and settling.
So to recap, you want to gather your supplies before the storm hits and think about where you're going to measure snowfall. If you're setting up a snowboard, think about a location that's away from the trees and away from the house. If you do not have a snowboard, just think about locations where you're going to go out there and take those initial snow measurements. Set things up ahead of time, and then obviously after the snow event is over, you want to go out there as soon as possible to try to record that maximum amount of snowfall. When you're out there measuring the snowfall, make sure that you're taking an accurate measurement. Make sure that you're kind of getting low with the snow and looking straight across to try to get that accurate measurement to the nearest 1/10 of an inch. You may not be able to stand up and just look straight down at the ground looking at an angle. That could cause maybe a little bit of an inaccurate measurement. So get low, look across the top of the snow, and measure it to the nearest 1/10 of an inch. And again, obviously you want to get out there as soon as you can after the snow stops to take that accurate measurement. Now, feel free to take measurements during the storm and report them to the National Weather Service. But we also want that maximum amount of snowfall recorded right at the very end of the event so we know exactly how much you got at your location. You can send those snow reports into us via social media, via Facebook and Twitter. We always love pictures. Pictures tells 1,000 words. You can also join what's called CoCoRaHS. It stands for the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. This is a network of citizen scientists from across the country that report daily rain, hail, and snowfall directly to the National Weather Service. It's also a great way to create your own record of rainfall and snow for your own home. Again, these are citizen scientists that sign up. They're volunteers. They're actually coordinated through the National Weather Service. The local office here approves all of the members and can communicate directly back and forth with participants in CoCoRaHS. There's also an app that makes the reporting of snow, ice, and hail very easy. And those reports come directly to the National Weather Service office here in Wakefield. There are a lot of other great resources on the CoCoRaHS website. Once again, it stands for Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. You see a bunch of different training resources here on the left-hand side, as well as some other resources here on the right-hand side, and the national interactive map of rainfall that has occurred across the area. Again, this is a great resource tracking daily rainfall and snow totals, not only here locally, but also across the rest of the U.S. So again, thank you for stopping by and listening to Whether You Want to Know or Not. Feel free to check us up on the web at weather.gov/AKQ, and you see the CoCoRaHS link there, CoCoRaHS.org. Once again, thanks for listening to this session of Whether You Want to Know or Not.